Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today it's November, so the Christmas tree is up. Don't judge me. Anyway, today we're talking about who are you projecting on. Now, I'm not mad at you. I'm not throwing any stones. I'm not trying to cast dispersions about your character and moral standing, but I project on people. I have a bad day or I have issues I'm going through and I take it out on other people. And you do it too. Everyone we know does it. Our beautiful mothers do it. Our crazy grandpas, insane uncles, whatever you want to say, your friends, your family, everybody projects onto other people. Sometimes we project onto our poor dogs or cats or, our children, our friends, our coaches. We act out and we project our issues onto other people. That is what projection is. We all do it. It's no excuse for it, but I wanted to talk about why we do this and how we can maybe fix the situation or become better at not doing this. So first of all, projection, for those that don't know, if you're going through a personal issue, a struggle, a difficulty, some kind of insecurity in your life, some kind of mental, physical, emotional, spiritual problem in your life, or you're just feeling down, you're feeling betrayed or maybe persecuted, there can be a million different things, but usually you're feeling a negative emotion and then you project that negative emotion or the response to it onto someone else. And that's a real problem because this other person, this other entity, whether it's your dog or your mother, didn't deserve this treatment. And it has nothing to do with them. They're kind of getting caught in the crossfires. If you're going through a real struggle and then you have an outbreak and you yell at your sister or you yell at your best friend, they weren't involved. They didn't have anything to do with it. And that is called projecting. So projecting is not when you are having an issue with a specific person or thing and you send your energy at them, you yell at them, you get mad at them, whatever. That's not called projection. That's just called retaliation or something else. Like that's quite different. We're not talking about retaliation today. We're talking about projection. So just so we're clear. Now, even the most well-meaning, balanced, emotionally intelligent human being has projected onto other people. We do it as kids. Oftentimes when a kid is having a real struggle with something, they'll often take it out on the parent or the sibling. My brother knows all about this because I would project onto him all the time with my struggles and issues. Sorry, brother, but you survived, so whatever. So that's kind of a common introduction into projecting as we grow up struggling with something, like we can't get our raincoat on at 5 years old, or someone called us a mean name at school or whatever, and we come home and we project it onto our parents or onto anything in the room available to take the beating other than us. And it can be a way to sort of gain power back. You often hear that bullies, a bully only bullies because they are bullied. So oftentimes there's the stereotype of the bully who bullies the kids at school and he's really mean and nasty and aggressive, and he goes home and he has to deal with his dad who is also really mean, nasty, and aggressive. And so it's a form of coping or being able to feel like you aren't the victim in some situations. This is not obviously a justification for any of this, but it is an explanation as to why some of these things happen to us. As we get older, projection can be, more nuanced. I think teenage girls have got projecting down to a fine art because the way that teenage girls seem to bully each other is insane. Especially like when I was growing up, the online bullying thing had just started, and some of the meanest mean girls I knew were really insecure, had difficult home lives, dealt with all kinds of anxieties and disorders, body image problems, and they were just vicious online and in person. And it was a textbook projecting their problems, projecting their insecurities onto other girls. You know, a girl that is insecure about her weight, the first insult she's gonna throw at you is that you're fat. You know, it's pretty textbook. It's pretty obvious. Funnily enough, growing up, I had a few instances where I had problems with bullies who would call me gay, and they ended up being gay. They turned out to be gay. And I think that is really funny. Maybe not funny, but like cathartic, or it's like justice coming into play. Like when you're insecure about your own sexuality, you're going to project that and get mad. And I think that's why you often see or hear about how homophobic people have a large tendency to end up coming out of the closet. And turns out that they were just insecure about themselves. It really had nothing to do with the people that they were bullying. And again, this doesn't justify the behavior, but it does explain it in many ways. So projecting can be this insecurity or difficulty that you feel about yourself, throwing it at someone else, at the closest target, or the closest target that sort of fits the description, fits the bill. And I think it's a real issue, and a huge amount of our daily struggles and strife are caused by projection. It's caused by, you get cut off in traffic and then you go on to be mad and angry for the rest of the day. And the person that cut you off was already projecting from a bad morning that they had. And, it's this perpetual cycle that continues, and it really doesn't have an end point unless you become, and you actively decide to become, an end point, which is what we're going to talk about now. So projection, what do? It's a natural thing. Kids grow up doing it. We become so attuned to it. We can often brush when someone projects at us, like aside, like, oh, it has nothing to do with me. It's just their crappy day. But how can you truly isolate this projection and then minimize it and get rid of it? And I think part of it has to start with yourself. And so this is where the title of the video really takes into consideration. Who are you projecting on? So I think it's a really good idea to try and identify the people in your life who you're most likely to project onto, and identify why you project onto these people. What causes you? Like, what specific instances? Maybe you only get mad at your one best friend because you have all these traffic problems and financial insecurity. And so you get mad at your one friend who's like a really bad driver, but also like really rich. And so anytime one of those two issues pop up in your life, you just, take a shot at her. Okay, well, maybe it's like important to identify that and to see it for what it is, Why is it that I would project onto my brother all the time? Well, he was my younger brother. He was always in the room. And typically I would have a problem with parents or extended family, and I can't project at them because they're higher in the hierarchy than me. They're, bigger and smarter, and, there's a hierarchy that you have to follow. So the only one left was my younger brother, because he was the lowest on the totem pole in this hierarchy that I'm talking about, which is all garbage, but it's how I saw things. And so when something wasn't going right in my life because of these factors, my little brother had to take the hit and, deal with me refusing to put on his favorite show, or, those sorts of things. Like, I'm not talking about like war here, but these are kind of the factors that lead to this idea of projection. So identify the people in your life who have taken the hit, who have taken this projected attack at you, and identify exactly why you feel the need to project onto this person. And sometimes a projection isn't even like an active event. Sometimes you just have it in your head. You might think of someone while I'm explaining this to you and think like, man, that's why I've always hated this person. Like, oh, that's why I have a real problem with this person. Maybe you've never thrown a shot at this person. You've never, actively gotten angry or upset, but it changes your mind. It changes how you see this person. If you have a real hard time, like, being financially independent and stable, you might really resent that one cousin that always seems to just be fine and never worries about money. It might just be this innate bias that you project onto them, like this anger that you have because they don't have the same situation as you. And I hate to break it to you, but that's life. Nobody has the same situation as you. Even an identical twin will have a completely different life than the other identical twin. And I can say that because my mom is an identical twin. And so I know they're totally different. They have totally different lives, thoughts, ideas, dreams, personalities, turns of phrase. Like, we are all so incredibly unique and individual. And it can be really easy to start seeing someone as the enemy or seeing someone as the problem in your life, when in fact they aren't the problem in your life. You know, there's an underlying problem that is either harder to deal with, harder to identify, or you just don't have the ability to deal with this problem. And so you decide to take it out on the poor cousin, or, you know, the younger brother or the best friend. And that can be a real issue. So that's the first element of stopping this downward spiral, this snowball effect of projecting and how we all do it, and it always perpetuates itself. It's by identifying those areas in your life that you are projecting, the people in your life that you're projecting to, maybe even having a conversation with them and saying, hey, you know I'm always so hard on you about money, but I think it's really just for projection. It's because I'm, you know, a bit insecure about this, or I feel weird about this, or whatever. Please don't take it personally. I'm really sorry. I'm working on it. I'm going to try and not do it again. Call me out when I do it. Like, you know, and it can be that kind of honesty and integrity that makes your relationships that much stronger and that much more important and lasting and permanent, especially if you want them to be permanent. Owning up to your own insecurities and apologizing for just the slightest thing. And they might brush it off and be like, dude, I totally knew, sorry, words. Dude, I totally knew that you were projecting. Like, I didn't take it personally at all. And it's a good piece of advice. Never take things personally. I have a YouTube video about it. Go check it out. But they might have this conception already, but they would really appreciate you coming to them and saying, hey, you know, I'm sorry. I think I've been projecting onto you. The last few months have been hard. This has been going on. I've been trying to work through it. Love your advice on it. Or I won't do it in the future, or something like that. That can be an amazing way of dealing with it. And the second way, which I just kind of touched on just now, is in order to prevent this whole projecting tit for tat thing going on forever, identify when it's happening to you. This can be, it takes a lot of wisdom and grace and compassion and empathy to be able to do this. But when someone starts, you know, taking a bite out of your ear, or, you know, they have a chip on their shoulder and they're really getting mad at you, they're having an argument with you, they're expressing, you know, unwarranted anger towards you, or, you know, they're fighting back against you on an issue or whatever, you can always decide not to take it personally. You can always decide that, hey, you know what? I understand why we had this giant debate about this political issue, and now you seem really angry at me, but I'm not the bad guy here. Like, I understand that you might be projecting this issue onto me. You might be projecting this big thing that's way beyond both of us onto me as a human being, but know that I have no control over this giant situation, or over your insecurity or your issue, you know, and I'm not going to take it personally. And you don't have to tell this to a person. In fact, it's almost better to not tell it to a person directly. It's better to just absorb it, understand that it's nothing to do with you. Don't take it personally. This person is going through some difficulties, and then move on. Because when you confront someone in the heat of an argument like this and just say, oh, well, you're projecting, that can just make them spiral more, you know? Like, if they're in a moment of anger or upset, calling them out and just saying, hey, you know what, you're projecting, this has nothing to do with me, might make them double down and be like, actually, you know what, it is totally about you, and now I'm even more angry. And that can make an issue that was really nothing to do with you at the beginning very much about you. So it can be important just to read the room, understand that, you know, someone might be taking it out on you, and you know it's nothing to do with you. You know it's not a personal issue. You know that they are going through something that really affects them mentally and emotionally, but you don't have to call them out about it. You can just silently nod your head, or, you know, change the subject, end the conversation, you know, get out of that situation, and then allow it to just drop off of your mind. Don't leave it as this like monkey on your back, causing you grief for the rest of the day. I think a lot of us do this where we'll have one negative interaction in the day and we'll let it follow us around, piggybacking on us and making us feel dark and upset and unworthy and, bad. But a great skill in this idea of projection is to realize like, oh, it's not about me. It's not about them. It's not about this situation. It's this underlying thing that neither of us have a lot of control over, and it can be very hard to do this. If we take the bully in the high school example, it can be really hard to get bullied and then realize like, oh, he's got like probably a horrible home life. I won't take it personally. For whatever reason, I've been able to do this from a very young age. I've been able to understand like, oh, this person's taking it out on me because they're insecure about their life. And as a result, I'm someone who's like, it's very difficult to bully me. It's very difficult to get under my skin because I realize that everyone is just projecting, back and forth, because you can positively project it to someone. You can give someone joy and grace because you're feeling joy and grace. But it can be very difficult to experience negative emotions from someone, experience bullying or harassment or whatever, and then to realize like, oh, this actually has nothing to do with me. This is completely centered on this person. Not my problem. I'm not gonna take it home with me. That can be really difficult, but it's definitely a good skill to learn. It's good to identify who you're projecting to in your life, and when you're receiving someone's projection, it's great to be able to not take it personally, to understand that it really isn't about you. It's about this person and their own experience, and you are doing the best you can with what you have. And if you're watching a video like this, you're probably a good person, because not many people watch videos about these kinds of ideas of projection and emotion and how they interact with us. So that is my 2 cents on projecting. Feel free to leave your stories down below of the times that you have been projected against and the times you've projected. I won't judge you. We have all done it. Lord knows I've done it multiple times, and I will do it in the future. It's not something that you can just turn off and then you're mentally fixed for the rest of your life. This doesn't work like this. We get into the heat of the moment. We experience these things, and then unknowingly we take it out on someone, and sometimes it's completely subconscious. So don't feel bad about it. Leave your stories down below. If you have any advice for people about projecting, situations where you might want to take a little bit more caution, please feel free to comment down below, educate us, let us know what you're thinking, be respectful, and thank you again for listening. I really, really appreciate it. If you want to get extra content and stuff, I have a Patreon. Feel free, link below. Check out my other social media stuff. I don't often promote this stuff, but whatever, it's almost Christmas, so thank you for watching. I hope you're having a beautiful day, month, year, week, century, millennium, and I hope it's amazing. And as always, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.